So, there we are. My mother and father at my house in Salem, and Grandma and Grandpa.
Oh, I remember
Right.
that picture.
Yeah.
Yeah, my mother and
Oh,
father.
I have one of those.
George and Grace.
Right.
Yeah. Do you folks have a picture of the house on Layton Street?
Oh,
I
that's it.
took that one.
Yeah, I remember it.
I don't have any film anymore.
I recognize it.
Well, I didn't.
This is
You did?
the
No,
backyard.
I
That's the
did.
latest one of
Do
Ellie,
you-
the
do
last
you-
picture I took of it.
Do you want a picture of a shop, machine shop? We'll take it next summer if you do.
No. I'm just talking.
This is the Avon Baptist Church.
Right.
Yeah, that's.
And I think they ruined this place. This was the original house here. That belonged to the Butler House. Colonel Robbins used to own it in Avon, 1882.
And this
where
is
they-
what they've done to it?
That's what they did to it. They took off those beautiful porches. Isn't that terrible? I think that is the most hideous thing I ever saw.
Well, isn't that the home that they have up there for? I know it's
No,
a
this is
rest
right in the
home.
square, right
Right in
across
the
from the
square.
monument. No, that's not a restaurant. That's a historical museum.
The Lutheran.
No,
No.
no, the Lutheran home is gone.
Oh,
Lot and
yeah?
Blanchard home gone.
That's in Avon, right?
Yeah, right
Yeah.
in the center of Avon.
No, I don't think there's anything in there now.
Yeah, that's gone.
Yeah. Well, I guess that's the story there.
Well, I don't get around much.
There. Maybe Val wants to take a look at it. Well, I guess I've covered it. I'm sorry,
Grandpa,
Val.
why don't you
Yeah.
tell us about what you remember about Brockton and growing up?
Who, me?
Yeah, you. You grew up in
Here, dear,
Brockton.
sit here.
All
No,
I-
let me sit over there and you sit here.
I know that Brockton, when it was a shoe city, was really a
I
going
really didn't
place.
plan
What
it
was your
too
first
good.
job?
In some ways,
Oh,
it's
that's
a little on
fine.
a jumble.
That's fine, really.
Because I didn't realize I was going into
My
that.
first job there was, seemed to me, so I was 14 years old when I got a job with, in conjunction with school. And I got, this woman down the street was a forelady up the Sorosis Shoe Company up in Center Street,
Uh-huh.
which was a division of the A. Little Company.
Oh, yes?
And I got a job there, what they call rubbing down seams.
Oh, yes, I
You
know
know,
what you mean.
on the back of the shoe when they stitched the
Were they
vamp
hi-
together.
High upper
I
shoes?
No, they were low
Low
shoes,
shoes?
but I had to rig in it, rub them down, take the bumps out of them, you know. That was my first job.
$220 I turned into the church.
Then you went around
And then I
selling
took and got a
candy.
job
You
there.
sold candy in the shoe
No.
shop.
I haven't decided
I
just
got
what
a
we're
job,
gonna
well,
do with
that's
it
when
yet.
I was a paper boy, I sold candy and papers.
Paper
But
factories.
I had the biggest paper route in Campbell.
Friend of mine
On a
Cindy
bicycle?
goes down from
No.
Winthrop, Maine.
It
She
was wheelbarrow.
had a
On a
memorial
wheelbarrow
service
you
up
go
in
around?
Winthrop, Maine. for
Your-
Ellie.
your
Yes,
voice
but
is
when
going
I
up
did-
with this.
I carried the papers down to George E. Key Shoe Company.
Yeah.
And I go in the plant and I had a shelf inside, a hinged shelf, you know, and I used to pick it up and spread my papers out, and I sold candy too.
You sell candy too?
Oh, anything to make a nickel those days. So I had number 2, and then from there I went to the bigger shop, number 1. And
As Judge E. Key.
then I also got a Sunday route, because I paid board from the time I was 12 years old.
You hear
Well.
that? You hear that, kids?
No kidding.
Yeah, I started
sure
working
did.
when I was
I
about
gave my
12.
mother $3 every week, which was to me $1 million then.
Had to, didn't you?
Well, I didn't make much. I'd make it
That was
like,
a lot then, though.
$3 every
That's
week.
cool, 'cause
That's a
Grandpa
lot.
was
That's a
from
lot back then,
hospital
though,
so
wasn't
That's
long.
like
oh yeah, but I made about
Ruptured appendix, you know.
$4.50 a week. That was
Oh,
my,
yes, Ellie
what I
had to go
make.
to work.
and it would leave me enough so I could go be a big spender and go to Keys Theater for 15
It was kind of
cents.
tough those days. Your father was in the Brockton Hospital so long with a ruptured appendix.
Yeah, he was.
Ellie had to quit school.
Was that right? I didn't
Oh
remember.
yeah, he was in the
He was in
hospital
there
for
for
quite a while.
long time. Things were rough.
I didn't know that.
When was that?
Well, I was pretty young then
Well,
myself.
it's
I
been
can
back
remember
in
it was
about
way back in the
18,
in the
yeah,
15 or
19,
16
17,
and
somewhere
around
in the
there.
17, yeah, around through
Yeah.
there. Yeah, it was pretty rough.
Yeah, my family didn't
But-
run into that.
And even he is having a good job. In those days, he didn't make any money. I
know
don't think
Ellie
he
said he
made.
had to quit and go to work.
Well, that house he bought, believe it or not, I think he paid $1,500. That was a gold mine then.
Oh, he told me the condition of that house when he took it over. You'd be horrified. You'd hear him tell the
Well, I
stories that he
remember
told me about.
fairly well.
You must, yeah.
It,
It was a dead-end street then, wasn't it?
no, it was a cart path. It was just a dirt road.
Right.
What
And boy,
fascinated me there about that house was that clump of birches out there by the living room window. A clump of, wasn't it a clump of 3 birches?
Oh, you mean the
They-
white birches that on
Yeah.
the lawn?
Yeah.
Oh, we had the biggest white birches that were around that part of the
Perfectly
country.
gorgeous, great big things.
They were like that, 2 of them. They went up like a V, you know.
Outside that
White
living room
birches,
window.
of course, now they're gone because disease got them, but
These were lettuce
They were the
that
biggest-
Georgie wrote on Elroy.
then we had apple trees out in the backyard too.
He's trying to eat Daddy's life. You're
But,
killing him.
Oh,
And it-
Grammy, stop.
No.
It's only natural.
But we were actually almost living what you'd call in the woods. Our nearest neighbor was one house
Yeah, I'm
across the
sorry.
street, about 200-300 feet from there. And from there down to the next house was all woods, just plain woods. In the spring, automobiles would try to come up the road and they'd all
I
get stuck
remember.
in the mud. What a place.
When did they pave?
Oh, it must have been when autos got a little more plentiful in, say,
There's been a lot of paving going on.
early 20.
It's all the
I
road.
remember the mud.
You don't remember the
I
mud?
remember the mud.
Oh, you remember the mud?
I can remember on the one of the first cars. Of course, we had a car. He had a car. My father had a car. He never drove.
Yeah.
He couldn't.
Who wrote
But I thought he
Gordon?
couldn't drive. But he could drive.
Bob.
Oh, Bob.
No, he didn't. Gordon did all
I
the
thought
driving.
God, I thought God.
And the
Sorry.
first car he bought an Overland. It looked just like that picture you got in there. And we used to think it was a big deal. No top, you know. We'd go out riding Sundays. We'd make East Bridgewater and back. That was it. That was the...
Well, the
big-
roads weren't any good.
Oh, no, the roads weren't any good, but that was a long ride. You went, I don't know,
When you do
maybe
15
20 miles
an hour, I was
ahead.
going to say.
20 miles ahead and 20 miles up and down.
I
But
can recall when my father borrowed my grandfather Edwards's Surrey and took us to Cochise Village on a Sunday afternoon for a ride. Horse.
well, that's a long ride, I'm
It was
telling
be
a
a
you.
long
long
ride,
ride.
and we went Copeland Street too.
Yeah.
I don't know
Yeah.
when the streetcars came in there. Tell me, Grandfather Lindsay took me one day down to the Howard farm down there, Skim Milk Bridge, and
Yes.
who's the Howards? Was they just friends, or?
No, I think there's a relationship ties in there somewhere.
They had a nice
I think
farm, but I'll
so.
never forget.
Is that the farm that young Keith bought?
Oh, I don't know. Between you and I went
Down there by the river?
well, yeah,
Yeah.
not quite. I think it was
Well,
the last
right out
one
of the
before the
monument,
river.
right out by the monument there. to
Was the last, I think, the last house before you got to the
Yeah, I got it.
Skim Milk Bridge on the right, going down. But it was, I'll never forget it as long as I live. She had just baked a custard pie, and of course, in the old days, you know, they had no way of keeping the flies out of the house. That custard pie honestly looked like blueberry.
With the flies on
I
it.
think that
Oh,
was
I
the
never saw,
place.
oh, but it was good.
He always
But
went
flies, oh my gosh. I never saw so many in all my life.
there. Bridgewater used to have a little country fair, and he always went to that country fair.
Yeah, they, was, lady, I don't remember now just where it was in Bridgewater. I know where the Middleborough Fair was, but not the Bridgewater. But,
What other jobs do you have? We'll get you moving along.
well, for me,
Yeah.
well, I took
He
him
used to
to,
chauffeur the girls around.
I worked for,
Is that right?
Tell him about the chauffeuring job and the
Oh, yeah.
Avon bells that you used to
oh, that
chauffeur
was,
around.
no, that's later years.
Oh,
but
tell him he'd like to hear it.
After I got through at the shoe factory up there, because I was going back to school for the, fall, I got a job down today it is the First National store but it was
I
the John T.
think
Connors
I'm gonna
company
get
then,
sick.
which is the forerunner of the First National. And I'll never forget, one day the superintendent came in, you know, and he had a good Irish name. His name was Sullivan. And he never had much to say because I was only a kid anyways. And I used to weigh up the person come in for a pound of butter, and you take it out of a big tub, butter tub, and you cut it out and put it in a tray and put it on the scale, you know. But the tray used to weigh 2 ounces, so I'd give a customer 2 pounds, or a pound and 2 ounces, you know. So he was there that day and somebody wanted a pound of butter, so I put the butter in the tray and put it on the scale, and pound 2 ounces when I give him. He came along and he looks at it. What's the idea of that? I says, well, I'll tell you. When a person buys a pound of butter from me, they get a pound. And I said, I don't put the tray in. Why should I? And boy, from there on, he'd give me the store. Every day from there on, he'd come in, hey, you know, and that's all.
He was the owner of the store?
Oh no, he's district superintendent.
Oh, okay.
But he used to come in every day. Of course,
Okay.
we're a chain outfit, but as I say, the John T. Connors store. Today, it's the First National.
Yeah.
And then from there, when I worked there a while, and Conrad Shoe Company opened up just over the hill, and I got a job there. And I think my first job in there was in the stitching room. I don't know, but I was doing the same thing as I did up to Little's. I was rubbing down seams. They had me doing everything. There was a woman foreman there too, and she had me putting eyelets in shoes, you know. You do it by machine. And finally, they got me in the office, and I used
How
to...
old were you when you were doing this?
Well, I'd say 15 years old.
Okay, you're still in high school at school.
Oh yes, I worked all through high school at the Conrad.
Yeah.
And because when I had a car when I was 14, and I drove it without a license and without registration. And finally, when I got 16, I got a chauffeur's license. Those days you had to get a chauffeur's license to drive a truck.
Right.
So I could drive truck. And when I got the chauffeur's license, they wanted me then to drive the car at the shop. But I was in the office. I worked on payroll for, I could have a comptometer then, an ad machine, you know. I could make it talk when I was a kid, of course, you know, because that's what I was doing. But anyways, I stayed in the office quite a while, and when they opened up another factory, then I got the job of going back and forth every day up to the other factory. So believe it or not, they bought me the first car. I had a Cadillac, and I used to carry.
Was that Tucker?
Yes.
Yeah.
I used to carry the payroll for the other factory, and I'll never forget. I was out in the other side of Framingham, between Framingham and Southborough, and the car broke down, and I had a bag full of cash, I don't know how many $1,000, for the whole factory. And I didn't know what to do. What would you do with the car loaded with leather goods, the money, and the whole works? What would you do in the middle of the woods? I took the bag and I threw it under the seat and walked off, left the whole works. And the car came along and I bummed the ride up to a house.
Wouldn't do that these days.
No, but I did.
You wouldn't have any
Don't have any
I don't know,
contact
as
with
I say,
change.
how many $1,000s that were there. And the whole load was a touring car, you know, anybody could have
Yes, touring car,
emptied
yeah.
it. But I couldn't do anything. So I got up to the farmhouse and I called in the office up the plant, and I told them if they wanted to get paid, they better send the car down and get the money. Because I said, this car is done, and they better send somebody down to tow it in.
Yeah.
So they did. The dry shaft dropped off.
Oh.
And anyways, I wore that car out,
You got back to the car and you found the money still
Where-
there.
Oh yeah, everything. Nobody
Where-
touched anything.
Where were you going, to Marlboro?
Marlboro, yes.
Did you tell them that?
Well, I got stuck between Framingham
Yeah,
and Southborough, which is on the road. But anyways, the next car they got, let's see, was Tucker's own car, his Peerless. He had his mother passed away, and he gave me the car to use in the business, which was a nice, was an expensive car. And that one, I wore that one out. And then, later, the next car, he bought me a new Dodge. And that thing, oh boy.
This Tucker lived over in Avon, up beyond the Avon Baptist Church.
He's down there, his son lives near us on the Cape.
Oh, does he?
Oh yeah, John.
So this Tucker, there was 2 or 3 Avon young girls coming along, Dolly Doyle and what was
Oh, you mean McAdams and
yeah, friend,
Dolly Doyle and
No, what was the other
McAdams,
one?
and
oh,
they were in the office.
yeah.
But
they
I
were
was in the
officers.
office, they
I
didn't
can't
have any
wink.
girls.
Huh?
Ray winked at me.
Yeah.
I winked, but I can't wink.
You know something that I thought
You look
was
like
so
Donna
nice
Lincoln.
in the days gone by? You remember Mr. Walden and his candy store on
Yeah.
Main Street? Do you remember that, Ray?
I
Right
should.
there by the Hathaway Theater, where everybody used
That-
to go into the theater.
That
You
was near
remember? In
that
the
was,
days we had the old trolley car, and
That
once in a
wasn't
while
the
it would rain
Hathaways.
at night.
that wasn't the Hathaway.
And somebody would
Theater.
want an umbrella.
Somebody needed
That was the
an
Rialto
umbrella. Do you
Theater.
remember?
Next to the B&J.
yeah?
Yeah, don't you
Oh,
remember
you mean
that?
Daddy?
I
Well, I
remember,
haven't got to my story yet.
Well, you go ahead and tell
you
them.
can tell
I'm
us
leading
that. We're
up
gonna let
to
you
it.
start from scratch on another tape.
No, not tonight, Donna,
No, no,
because I
no.
want to tell about
I know
my
that.
father and mother, and I
I
never.
know that. Don't want you to do it tonight. We'll do that another
Yeah.
night. But Hazel's leading into the story of the umbrella. See, now,
Okay.
see,
I
now's
worked-
your opportunity to
I
tell
worked
that
in my
story.
father's store, and I had a
Call
day.
me up.
I called him. I called him up. I said, "You coming uptown?" And he says, "Yes." And then I said, "Will you bring my umbrella?" And he said, "Yes." And I walked out of my father's store, took the umbrella, walked across the street, met
She had
another
a
fellow,
date, all
went to the
right. The guy
movies.
was there waiting for her.
She left him stranded and went to the movies with another guy.
He's never forgotten it.
Do you
I
blame
never
him?
forgot it after you told me. I thought this
I
was a
remember
good.
that story.
I thought this was a
I
good
do
time
too,
to
I
bring
do
it
that.
in. Didn't you
Yeah,
think
yeah.
so?
Well, I
Beautiful.
only asked him if he's coming uptown. I didn't make a date with him.
Well, that's a nice way of saying, why don't you come uptown?
Oh, wasn't that awful?
You were lucky you had him for a boyfriend
I
the
was
rest
just
of
gonna
your life.
say.
And the funny thing is that fellow that
He never
she
forgot.
saw
Tells everybody.
turned out to be the town bum.
Yeah.
What's
Don't put
that?
that in
Oh,
the
yeah?
story.
Oh,
He was a,
you record what you record. You don't worry about it.
that's no kidding.
Well,
He used
go
to
on.
be a-
Go on a little bit then. Okay, where did you meet Mother?
Oh, we
Dancing
was
school.
gardeners dancing.
Oh,
How old were you when you?
17.
17.
Yeah.
How come
And
you got?
I'll
to
tell you
dancing
who was
school?
with.
Yeah.
How did you get to dancing
Yeah.
school?
Oh, I,
Yeah, hard times.
oh, I used to be quite.
You're right, you
And I picked him out.
And everything.
I picked him out. I went. We were supposed to go around a circle squeezing hands, and I squeezed his. He was a pretty blonde. I had him. I hooked
She
him
was,
right
you know
away.
who she was with? Johnny Eggers' wife, Gertie.
Good.
Gertie?
Good.
Yeah.
Yeah.
And of course, I knew Gertie's father
Uh-huh.
quite well. And when I found out they were together, she lived the handiest and I had to walk.
That's the story he tells. He would have taken Gertie home if it went.
Gertie lived way up in Brockton Heights,
Yeah.
and she lived on Park Road,
He
which was
thinks
just
he's
off
got by
Ash
with
Street.
that. And I had a fur coat, so he took me home.
I didn't
What
have
the
to
fur
walk so
coat have to
far.
do with it?
Well,
She was showing
She looked
off.
like she had money.
there was only 2 girls in high school that
Yeah,
had
I was
fur
going to
coats.
say
That
that
was
they
Okay.
a
were
big
rare.
deal.
That was
Okay.
My father was called the 400. Anybody talked about my father with, you're in the 400
I remember
club.
him. He was a big man.
Yeah. No, short.
Yeah, but he was
She
quite
means-
plump.
Yeah, little tubby,
Yeah,
like Santa
plump,
Claus,
yeah.
yeah.
Yeah, he was quite a character.
Oh, you.
It was
I beg
nothing.
your pardon.
That's right.
In the wintertime, this is no lie, the public market was not too far from his store, so he'd take time out. And being the wintertime, he'd go out with a white jacket and a straw skimmer on, straw hat, and they would have somebody in there giving samples of something, cheese
yeah.
or something, and coffee. So every time he thought, and he'd come back and he'd get the biggest
Yeah, had my
kick out
lunch,
of that.
had my lunch.
Had my lunch, he
Sample.
says.
Tell me, do you people get the Maturity magazine of the AARP?
No, I've had a few copies of it, but I
Yeah.
don't.
Is there anybody over there you know that gets it? You want to get it and read it. There's an item in there of James Edgar. It was in the Yankee magazine here a couple of years ago, and he played Santa Claus. That's years ago. And he had a little store. That's where it got its name, Boston store, and it wasn't in the
I
original
remember reading
location. Pardon me?
I remember reading that.
Yeah, well, it's the same thing as in Maturity. And do you know, Edward Pearson was standing on the side there by that trolley car, because in the Yankee, they
Yeah,
had
the
photos, but
Brock
this
and
Maturity
Baxter
doesn't
cleaner.
have any photos.
You
Yeah.
Yeah.
And
this
Edward
is-
Pearson was standing there, and he just died. He was 90 years old.
No, he-
And he's Mrs. Packett's brother.
He didn't have the Brockton vacuum cleaner. He had
Pearson Electric.
Pearson Electric.
He was
Yeah,
on,
but
under
he
the
was in.
Hotel Hamilton, and then he went to Allen
I
Street.
remember.
Yeah.
Well,
Well, he
But,
was just a kid in these short knee breeches in those days, and I saw that Yankee we had at home, and I said to Elroy, I said, that looks like Edward Pearson to me. So I wrote to Mrs. Packett, and I said, look at your Yankee. I said, and see if that isn't your brother Ed. And sure enough, she said it was. And here it comes out again. And he played Santa Claus, and I'm wondering if that was really back in the early days when they first originated Santa Claus. Because he was dressed up like that.
that's why Lester probably is. Somebody said to Lester there,
It was
When we
me,
up there,
Dad. Me, Daddy.
You?
Yeah.
says, you look just like Santa Claus. He says, well, he says, if you come down to Braintree Shopping Center, what was, I don't know,
Christmas
Jordan
time.
Miles,
Some
one of them
shop,
down
yeah,
there.
yeah.
He says, you'll see
Yeah,
Santa
Jordan.
Claus.
Then
Yeah.
he says, you come down and you sit in my lap like all the grandmothers do, and then they send the pictures back to their grandchildren
Oh, really?
with,
He's a hot
wherever
ticket.
they are. Yeah.
How long did you two date before you got married? I'm gonna get you back
Oh,
on.
we
Oh,
went
5.5 years.
Uh-huh.
Imagine that.
We went together from 17, we get married at 23, so
About
you
5.5 years.
Well, you probably had something
We
to
were
say. Ready to go
17.
to housekeeping.
We
No,
That's a good
they
age to get married.
We
my
were
big
17.
cars that I had, that's
Yeah.
what
Yeah,
got
but you
it.
couldn't live and sleep and eat
And
in
he
your
married
car.
me for my.
What did you do for a living when you were during that period of time? You
No.
were in school
No,
part of the time.
I just
You worked
said
for
no.
Conrad?
I worked all through high school.
Yeah, but when you got out of high school at 18 or
Wants me
so,
to
what did you
pet
do?
him. I
after?
don't
Oh, I
matter
didn't get
because
up
he'd be
until
up my lap.
19, and then
You went up the vacuum place up on Main Street there for a while.
I worked up there a little while, and then I went to
So-
Hyannis. And,
Oh, the battery shop.
The battery shop, yeah.
Then he got his machine shop. No, radio
Radio.
shop.
What, was
And-
that when you got married?
Well, he had it about
No,
a
I
year,
had
and
that
then
a
we
year
got
when I
then
got
then we
married.
got
So he was
married.
22 or so when he
Yeah.
got the radio shop.
Yes, he had a year, and then we moved and
I had a
we
good
moved
business.
across the street in
I
Roy's
never
house.
made
It's
any
a
money at
beautiful
it.
looking store.
I had a
It was
good
a
business.
beautiful
I had all the business from all the dealers around that part of the
Was
country.
that along there about where Breen's is?
No,
No, Breen is, you remember where the public market used to be there?
You were the-
Yes.
Well,
Yeah.
I was just a couple of doors beyond there.
Yeah,
Yeah.
yeah.
And,
we were right across the street from Roy's house. I could see it from the living room, his store.
but, as I say, I had, well, you could go right up Main Street. I had AF German Company, I had Fosberg Electric, and I had them in Whitman, Middleborough, and
Well, is it-
Stoughton dealers, and they used to bring in all the stuff, you know.
For repairs? you
Oh,
mean?
yes, we had a good business on, we had a good record around there on repairing. But, as I say, we never made any money.
What year was that though? That was,
From,
When
well,
Ray-
I worked radio from 1920, that was we built radios for years
I
over
was just
at
going
Pop
to bring
Shop.
that in. Yeah, I was just going
We
to bring
built
that
for
in.
W.T. Grant in 1923,
They get their parts
Sure.
up to W.T. Grant's there, and Grant's was where.
when they were up in Brockton, up in the
Brockton's-
center. They
and
had our
Hathaway Theatre
radios up
was.
there.
near her
Some,
father's store.
Sure. The whole bunch of us over the house are putting them together.
There was George Latham and my father. Was Ernest in on that, Ernest Edwards?
Gee, I don't remember now.
And you, and Ted, was it?
Yeah,
And Gordon?
and Gordon. Yeah, there's a whole
What
gang
about
of us
Bob?
there. I think there was 7 of us there that were fooling around.
And that's when,
Bob had, originally, he had a ham rig, which is short wave. And of course, being in the same bedroom with him, we couldn't understand it, either one of us. But we used to listen every night for the Arlington time signals, which we used to pick up from Virginia. And then after, when radio, they came with those days, they didn't have even a tube. They didn't know what a tube was even. But then when they came along with the tube, I built one of the first sets. And the first station we had that I could get, I had a little shack out in the yard under the oak tree there, where the little garage was.
Yeah.
And we used to tune in KDKA Pittsburgh, and then we could get voice, of course. But then in a year or so, before I had my store, I built sets for my own selling, what they call Browning Drakes in those days. And I'd test them out, and believe it or not, I'd pick up WYOD Miami pretty good on them from there. And
At night.
oh yes, at night. I didn't get them in the daytime.
Yeah.
my brother was building a setup
And her brother
in my
was
bedroom.
he was in competition too.
Yeah.
The 2 of us. He had a shop, and I had a shop.
Oh.
Mine was in Camp Powell. His was in Brockton.
And my brother was building a radio
Mr.
setup.
Earl?
Yeah,
My
Earl.
brother Earl
Sure.
was building the radio. He was 5 years old, and I was building the radio up in my bedroom. And he'd holler, "Come up and hear it." We lived in a,
Because
big
this
house.
was earphones.
And I'd get up there, and then it would be gone. But the first thing I ever heard was Parade of the Wooden Soldiers.
Oh.
That was the first I ever heard
On the
on
radio.
Yeah, and I loved it.
But I
That
I
Jamie-
can remember the one.
January the 2nd, 1977. Okay?
Right.
Okay, yeah. And my mother was born in Salem, Mass. in 1868, March the 14th, named Hannah Creamer. My
What
father,
was her last name?
Hannah Creamer.
How do you spell the last name?
Creamer. Her father was a red-headed Irishman. Her mother was French. But he died when he was a girl. I won't put this in.
No, just where you left off.
Okay. My father, Arthur Lincoln Walden, was born in Salem, August, I don't know the date, 1869. My father's mother was a Bowdish. Her grandfather was Captain Nathaniel Bowdish. My father, excuse me, my father
It's all right, keep
My
going.
father worked in a candy store making candy. This would be in Salem. My mother was a clerk in the candy store. And so they met. My father and
What
mother.
year?
My father and mother were married in Salem, August the 30th, 1890.
When did they go? When were they working in the store together?
I haven't got that there.
Oh, okay.
See, they were married in 1890. My father's store, Walden's Candy Store, was established in Brockton in 1898 on Main Street, next to the Rialto Theater. And when the store was first opened, it had an ice cream fountain and a few ice cream tables and chairs. The other half of the store was a candy counter. And my father made his own peanuts, was salted peanuts, and they were his own recipe. Made his fudge and all his candy and even chocolates in the earlier days.
Mhm.
They were good. He also, I guess this was before I was born, he had a store in Salem. No, Boston. Boston.
Okay.
With the ice cream fountain in the store, it made it very wet, so my father had it all taken out and just continued to a big candy store. Ken Dalton, a reporter of the Enterprise, wrote in the Enterprise in later years, "Remember when Walden's Candy Shop boasted of our salted